Folks, some crazy breaking news. The whole field of Tomorrow Golf League, TGL, this whole screen golf league between Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy as the heads has been finalized. It just broke right now, and I got my boy, Jake Spangolf, on. What's insane about this is Jake Spangolf just put out a video yesterday that Min Woo Lee was going to Live Golf Tour. He read all the tea leaves, and then we're now seeing that actually Min Woo Lee, of all people, is in the TGL Golf League. Jake Spangolf, thoughts on this?
It's a very strange thing to see 24 hours later, something that I was seeing, predicting, looking at, and thinking that this all makes sense, to be completely proven wrong on. And especially for a player like Min Woo Lee. Min Woo Lee, understand where his status is in the golf world as far as his golf legacy goes. He's still a young player. He's still up and coming. His legacy is not cemented. He's not one of these grandeur players that the majority of the TGL is comprised of. So everything about where he was in golf pointed toward a Live Golf signing and not toward a TGL signing, as TGL has been mostly targeting established boys club players and not players that are on the rise. We now see 24 players in total with the 5 players that were announced today for the TGL. This could, in fact, be the entire roster, as we now see 24 total players, which would fit in as 6 four-man teams for their initial roster. Now, we don't know what's going to happen. They could end up signing 25 more for all we know, because Tiger Woods just feels the need at this point to possibly block every potential Live signing. But this does seem more and more like a hack job, a slander job, a shutdown job between the TGL and the Live Golf Tour, as a way for the PGA to essentially violate their non-aggression agreement without violating their non-aggression agreement.
I guess it would be more like a non-compete clause.
Non-compete clause.
And to me, that non-compete is aggressive. I think they both agreed to remove that for the sake of the DOJ or whoever was investigating the whole potential for antitrust violations. But now we got, the whole idea of what's really going on, form versus reality, because if in practice none of these guys actually play at Live, now it's becoming more and more apparent that this is just a vehicle to prevent players from going to Live by offering them money on a side venture under the whole golf establishment, which is now Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. As of the Delaware meeting now, I think we can officially say that they're actually the power source, more so than, Jay, I'm going to take a 4-month sick leave because I'm stressed out Monahan.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. This is becoming more and more apparent of what's going on, because we see, not only with Min Woo Lee, we see 5 guys signed in total. Now, 4 of them definitely seem to me like Live targets. One of them is kind of a left field signing that just because he's a good old boy that nobody ever gets mad about. He may have been signed specifically for the Atlanta team because he's a Georgia Bulldog fan. That's Kevin Kisner. But today we saw Patrick Cantlay, somebody that we were confused about with the whole hat situation. Maybe he was leading a fractured room at the Ryder Cup. We see Wyndham Clark, who has 5 years of major exemptions now, who we thought maybe he would just say, hey, listen, I got the major ticket. I got the golden ticket. Let's go get that money now over at Live. We see Min Woo Lee, somebody who the profile of him does not match the TGL format. He matches for Live. He does not match for TGL format. Great player, great talent, great signing, smart move by Tiger, but just seemed odd. We see Lucas Glover, your boy Lulu Glove, the guy who we saw infinitely more of his ass cheeks and sweat than we ever saw of him playing before this last few months. This is a strange week.
It's breaking news, and for the folks at home who aren't gamers, who don't play screen golf, let me give a little bit more background of the TGL so you understand the format. It's a venture which will run in partnership with the PGA Tour. It's going to stage matches on Monday evenings in a new state-of-the-art purpose-built facility in Florida called the SoFi Center, which can hold up to 2,000 fans. It's going to be interesting to see how many people actually go to these events. We've got 15 regular season matches in the new league, followed by semifinals and finals. The world-class roster will be made up of 6 teams of 4, as you pointed out, Jake, and they're going to compete in head-to-head matches over a 2-hour period, which is obviously a move forward considering that you're watching 4 hours of commercials anytime you watch a PGA Tour event. And it's going to be for primetime viewing. My understanding is also they're obviously not going to compete with Monday Night Football. They're going for this high-tech, high-energy experience, and it's going to start January 9th. And because I have ESPN+, it's also going to be on ESPN, I'm going to be able to watch at least the first episode or 2 before it slowly and quickly dies a painful death due to lack of viewers. We got 4 of the 6 teams in the TGL venture have been named as Los Angeles Golf Club, TGL Boston, Atlanta Drive, GC, and TGL New York. 2 more teams are expected to be confirmed before the start date in January. So now, Jake, you've been through the 24-player roster. It's been finalized today. I don't think they can add any more because, hey, we're kicking off soon. It's already January's coming up around the corner. Who is the most surprising of these names? And there's some out of left field ones. You got Shane Lowry, but you got no Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, I would say today's signings, 3 of them, in my opinion, are the real big surprise players. Tom Kim made a lot of sense. Cameron Young seemed pretty left field. This is a guy who hasn't even won on the PGA Tour yet. Somebody who's consistently close, consistently in the hunt, consistently there, but hasn't won. And when you look at the first 10 signings, it kind of set the precedent for we're going after the big name mega players. We're going after the guys who should be there, which I'm surprised they're not. We're not seeing an Adam Scott. We're not seeing a Hideki. And if they're going to be a top golf league, literally hitting into a simulation and doing ball striking, why is Fred Couples not there? I'm just saying that right now. I know Fred Couples is old, but Fred Couples hits the ball better than anybody. And so that's just me. That's my opinion right there.
Jake Spangolf, are you noticing the good old boys pattern of the guys who are vocally supportive of the PGA Tour and the PGA Tour versus Live battle? Because you also have Billy Horschel here. We got Rory McIlroy. Obviously, he's the #1 anti-Live guy. We've got Kevin Kisner was supportive of the PGA Tour, and then later came out on record, I think it was with Foreplay, about how he felt kind of taken advantage of because you're out there rah-rahing for the PGA Tour, and then they're still going around and trying to get the PIF money behind your back.
Right. And so today's signings to me, just the 3 that they're honestly, all of the signings today made no sense to me. Now, Patrick Cantlake, they already have Xander there, so that kind of makes sense. Kevin Kisner just seems completely out of left field. I think he's playing for the Atlanta team. That's my only reason why I think he's there is because he's playing for the Atlanta team, because maybe Matt Ryan and Chipper Jones are besties with him. I don't know. I don't know personally, but that's my guess. Min Woo Lee didn't seem to have the criteria, and he even mentions it himself in a interview today over at the Zozo, where he says it's like all the best players in the world, and then there's me. Why am I here? I'm just going to hope to be on Tiger's team. I thought that was very humble of him to say that because, he's a great player, but his caliber as far as his credentials, his achievements don't measure up to a lot of the other players that are there. Wyndham Clark, I don't see him having all of the insider boys club connections. Lucas Glover, again, just seemed like Liv would have been better fit for him, and he seemed to be getting screwed in every single direction anyway. So it's like, why is he there? I understand the majority of the signings, but the ones from today, I think, are the biggest shockers. The Lucas Glover one, the Kevin Kisner one, and the Min Woo Lee one. And I'm not sure which of the 3 is the biggest surprise.
I'm going to throw this out there for you, Jake Spangolf. 2 of the teams have not been named yet, but you got Terrell Hatton, Justin Rose, and Tommy Fleetwood. So we got 3 English dudes. You're going to have like a Euro English team because the 2 biggest markets are obviously the USA and the UK, unless I'm wrong about that.
Well, based off what we're seeing on here, they're probably going to do an identity politics thing the same way as the Majestics did. Wouldn't be surprised if you have some type of like crown or royalty name as a way to like lampoon off of the Majestics. Have Rory McIlroy headed up with, as you mentioned, there's Hatton there, there's Fleetwood there, Lowry is there also, but then you also have Justin Rose. So you got 5 guys from the UK. That are, I know Ireland itself isn't part of the UK, but the British Isles, the Isles, if you want to call them. You have 5 guys from that region. You also have Matt Fitzpatrick, who's there as well. So there's 6 guys in total. It could end up being an all English team, and then McIlroy and Lowry go somewhere else. I don't know what's going to happen, but there could be a lampooning of the Majestics GC name and Live Golf there. Who knows?
My other observation is that, we're fighting for Lucas Glover and Keegan Bradley to get on the Ryder Cup team. Lucas Glover, one of the criticisms, he's not a needle mover. No one cares about Glover. But they obviously care about him enough to sign him to one of these 24 lucrative spots. Are Keegan Bradley and Lucas Glover kind of made whole by getting signed to the TGL? Because obviously now they're in for all these events. How many events are there? 24?
Yeah.
15 events? Wait a second. So now they're getting, highlighted in 15 regular season matches, and then they have semifinals and finals. Did they actually trade up? Did they actually benefit by not being on the Ryder Cup team and then getting this deal instead?
I think yes, in a way. Ryder Cup is one scope. It's one little scope. It's one little weekend. And this is going to be an opportunity to where you yourself are showcased. And, they're going to have you completely on camera every single time because your individual shot matters for whatever the scoring format is. It's kind of a lot like baseball. Baseball players traditionally have been one of the best sports as far as fan awareness of that player. If you ask anybody in the world to spot Ken Griffey Jr. versus trying to spot Bo Jackson, more people are going to be able to tell you what Ken Griffey Jr. looks like because you see him in the batter's box all those years as a baseball player with the camera directly on his face versus a football player in full pads in an off-screen shot from 50 yards away. So this is an opportunity for Bradley and Glover to get a lot more fan exposure and be able to boost their social capital a whole lot more. I don't know if it makes you whole for missing a Ryder Cup opportunity because Ryder Cup is one of those glorious check marks next to your name at the end of your career. However, this is definitely a step in the right direction for them, for their families, for their longevity, and also for their social brand.
Do you think that these guys, because we thought that Bradley would be going to High Flyers next year. We thought that Glover would also being obviously shafted by the Ryder Cup selection process would go to Live Golf. Are we going to say that none of these guys is going to Live Golf because they're signed to TGL?
Yes, 100%. I feel like somewhere hidden in their contracts with the TGL has something to do with not going to Live Golf. And the fact that you got however many of these events that they're going to be doing, in addition to their already golf schedule. Now, granted, with this next year starts off kind of the initial phasing out or reconstructing of the PGA Tour calendar year. But this seems like, hey, you have this requirement on top of your already PGA duties. So you're done. You're not going to Live Golf. You out. So I think the biggest question that we got to start asking ourselves is who's not on these rosters? Who's not in the TGL? Who's not getting TGL money? Because that starts asking me some serious questions right there. And you know who's not in the TGL that for all intents and purposes seems odd that he's not? Scotty Scheffler's not there, is he?
Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, Victor Hovland.
Yeah, 3 guys that based on who the TGL has been targeting are not there. Now, we don't know if it was a negotiation breakdown, if it was a, hey, I don't want to play fucking Topgolf. We don't know what it is. I mean, that could have been what happened where, they call up Scheffler and Scheffler says, I don't want to do this. This doesn't sound fun. Or Scheffler goes, I already beat you guys in strokes gained on every single category except for putting. I don't want to do this. So,
well, it does seem like now it is a player's market with the extra. Now that the monopoly has been broken up a bit, you can, as a player, kind of shop around. Do you think that Bradley and Glover had live offers and then these were matched and then bettered by TGL?
I think that they were. I mean, to me, everything as a fan looking on the outside looking in, once we knew they were a Ryder Cup snub for Glover, for Bradley, once we knew that Bradley wasn't part of the Delaware organization, meetings, everything to me pointed at these guys being fresh, prime live targets. Now we know Liv's in this weird like promotion relegation system situation right now, but there are opportunities for Liv to expand the actual team rosters and of course for players to be signed outside of the promotion relegation events. So I think you're correct. I think you're spot on. These guys were becoming targets for Liv Golf. I think pretty much everyone that's been signed in the last couple weeks, the players that have been announced in the last few batches, Cam Young, Sahith Theegala, Tom Kim, these guys, with the exception of maybe Kevin Kisner, were all targeted and given an offer in the last few months by Liv Golf.
Remember how we always thought that Adam Scott would be perfect for the Aussie team?
Mm-hmm.
He's also on TGL now. He
is on TGL now, yeah. And so, again, this is just one of those where we have all of these opportunities to really fix and stop Liv from hunting certain people. It's strange at who's not in there, though. But if you really think about it, because we don't see Jason Day in there. We don't see Hideki Matsuyama in there. Guys we know actually move the needle. We're not seeing Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns. We're not seeing Jordan Spieth. So what's up with that?
Here's another question for you, Jake. And I want to point this out in terms of Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay raked over the coals for allegedly wanting more money or wanting money for the Ryder Cup. Now they're both signed to this. So is anyone going to criticize them for playing screen golf for more money and ruining the tradition and legacy?
I don't think they will, because it's Tiger Woods. We've seen over the years that it doesn't matter what Tiger Woods does. He's still going to get loved unilaterally. And there were times where people did hate on him, but at the same time, even when they were hating on him, they were still loving to hate on him. I mean, we all saw how he was treated back whenever he was divorcing Ellen Norrigan and having the infamous 9-iron incident to his Escalade window. We saw how he was treated in the media and lampooned and made fun of, put on South Park, stuff like that. But nobody really cared. They were joking about him, but they were still in love with him. And so because it's Tiger Woods doing this, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Sex addiction is a real thing.
Yes. If you do have
sex
addiction,
ruin lives, dude.
If you do have sex addiction, please seek out actual medical help immediately.
Yes. Well, we've gone through this whole TGL roster. It's mind-blowing because they've seemed to have locked in these players that we both agree now, I think, that they're not going to live. My final question to you, Jake Span Golf, you are the natural, and I think you know this. In terms of the Monopoly situation, in substance, if none of these guys go over, if none of these PGA Tour guys can go to live, and there's something in their contract, isn't this a monopoly?
I believe so. I believe that this is a way for them to skirt the monopoly rules without actually breaking the monopoly rules. Understand the TGL is listed as its own separate entity, away from the PGA Tour. It is owned by two board members of the policy board for the PGA, and so it's very odd, but it is one of those ipso facto things where they can break the monopoly rules, the antitrust rules of American politics and government, without actually breaking the rules. It's kind of like how when La Belle was broken up back in the 80s. Well, Bell was still in control of every single cell tower in America. It was just under 4 different companies now that had to act like they weren't in, grouping with each other.
I totally agree. I think, sure, in terms of form, now they're trying to make these little companies that are related and it's not monopoly, but in substance, you're still trying to prevent guys from going to live. This needs to be looked into. This actually works against them. What the PGA Tour does need is for guys to go to live, to be like, hey, look, we're not monopolies. Guys can free to go when they come when they want. Instead, anyone who has a hint of going, like my boy Lucas Glover, second on the President's Cup list right now, they just say, hey, we'll give you some money, stay over here. Maybe we have to expand it more. Maybe we want to protect more guys in the future. And this is the perfect special purpose vehicle via which you can get these guys money, because we can't just use the PIP anymore, I guess. We can't just use that player impact program fund and just give first place to Tiger, second place to Rory, trying to skirt the whole no appearance fees issue on the PGA Tour. We'll do the PIP plus this TGL thing. You show up a couple nights a week, a couple Mondays, whenever, and then you do a little hit and giggle. Everyone loves you and would pay you.
Yeah. And the biggest question mark with this TGL situation to me is I need to see an interview from Tony Finau. I need to see an interview from Scotty Scheffler, from Sam Burns, Jordan Spieth, Hideki Matsuyama. I need an interview from you guys to understand, okay, why are you not doing this? What is your reasoning for not doing this? Because everything about this or live golf screams perfect for all of those players. One of those two scenarios screams perfect for those players. And you can't tell me that they're not wanting to be involved with that for that extra muka, because they're both at those, all of those players are at that point where they're no longer fighting for legacy. They're fighting for money. They're fighting for their ability to have multi-generational wealth.
Folks, subscribe, share, and like. And I want you to keep this in mind. Soon, I'm expecting the PGA Tour to buy artwork that Tiger Woods has painted or drawn.
With his feet.